Castlevania Symphony of the Night, originally released on the first PlayStation in March 1997. Yeah, you know it's good. Actually, way better than simply good. It's legendary, and you don't need me to tell you that. So, elation and jubilation, gamers from all around the world. I am Lucian, and this is the World Gamer Show. And today, we're going to explore another version of the game released for the Sega Saturn in Japan only. So sit back, relax, and let's dive right in. Castlevania Symphony of the Night was developed by Konami and originally released on the first PlayStation in March 1997. One big disclaimer before we begin: this is not a full review of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, so if that's what you're looking for, there are plenty of YouTubers that already did a fantastic job at it. I will give you a bit of context, of course, but if you really want a review from me, well, Symphony of the Night is a timeless must-play masterpiece. There, that's my review for you. So yeah, if you're still here, let's move on. In Symphony of the Night, you get to explore the castle of Count Dracula in the shoes of his son, Alucard. Symphony threw away the linear style of the previous games and mixed a freely explorable castle with RPG mechanics, like experience points, leveling up, and a proper inventory system. Everything about Symphony is now iconic. From its gorgeous 2D graphics and incredibly smooth animations to its intricate level design. The main castle consists of 13 interconnected areas. Once you beat the boss Richter Belmont, meeting specific requirements, you unlock the Inverted Castle, which consists in 13 more areas which are flipped upside down for double the gameplay. Once you finish the game properly by beating Dracula, you unlock Richter Belmont himself as a playable character. Granted, you could play as him in the prologue of the game, this time you will be able to fully explore the castle with him. He keeps all the moves from the prologue, which means he can explore certain areas way earlier than Alucard, and basically skip a lot of rooms, making it a joy for speedrunners. This less linear style also goes for Maria, but we will get to her soon enough, as sadly she is not playable on PlayStation. However, in June 1998, another version of the game was released for the Sega Saturn in Japan only. The Saturn version of Akumajo Dracula X, Nocturne in the Moonlight, as it's called in Japan, did many things differently from the previous PlayStation iteration. Since the internal hardware structure of the Sega Saturn is very different from that of the PlayStation, some technical compromises had to be made by the developers to make sure it released not too far off from the original release of the PlayStation version. Sadly, this meant that the loadings took longer and dithering will take the place of most transparency effects. On top of that, rather than using the Saturn's increased resolution, the game was simply stretched to fit the screen. And it also slows down much more frequently than its PS1 counterpart, especially when 3D effects come into place. It's clear that the developers had trouble optimizing the code that they have developed specifically for the PS1 and bring it to the Saturn. It must have been a painful process even just bringing the game to the state that it was released, but it's still undeniably a technical mess. However, one thing that I simply can't understand is, why do we need to go through the pause menu to access the map? That's right, while in the PlayStation version you will simply press the select button to bring up the map, in the Saturn version you first need to pass through the pause menu, which itself takes several seconds more than the PS1 version, and then press the C button. And to go back to the game, again you need to retrace your steps by first going back to the pause menu and finally back to the game. This is simply an atrocious design choice, which I feel has nothing to do with the supposed technical limitations. However, developers must have felt pretty sorry for all this, because to compensate for the technical mess and for the extra time that the Saturn owners had to wait to play the game, they've been kind enough to include a ton of extra features. Let's go in order. First, we have a useful sound test, which allows us to play all the music in the game, and this is a soundtrack you don't want to miss. Of course, nowadays we can hear these classics on YouTube or other streaming platforms, but back in the day, when internet wasn't as accessible as today, this sound test made way more sense. On top of that, you can even listen to new renditions of classic tracks which are tied to the extra content in the game, which we will get to soon. Once we actually start the game, we notice something amazing. We can now choose straight away and without the necessity to unlock them, 2 extra characters aside from Alucard. We can play as Richter straight away, while in the PS1 version we needed to unlock him by first beating the game properly, and for the first time ever in Symphony of the Night we can now play as Maria, who was actually rumored to be also in the PS1 version back in the day. The truth was simply that she was playable in the Saturn version, and also plays radically different from both Alucard and Richter. Well, the gameplay loop is certainly more similar to Richter's playthrough, but her moves and gameplay style are radically different, and she is certainly the star of the show. First, she is proficient in magic, and can indeed shoot magical projectiles, which actually makes her style more similar to Mega Man. She just shoots magic beams instead of lemons. Pew pew! I mean, for Christ's sake, she can even charge her shot. Actually, she needs to stand still while shooting, but she can also triple jump, which means that right from the start, she can get access to most of the areas way earlier than Alucard, again just like Richter, and she can even heal herself, which is a big help. Her special move inputs are also the same as Richter, but producing different moves in most cases. Speaking of Richter, he also has something new. In particular, he can show off his new outfit, which actually matches his official artwork much closer, rather than his recycled sprite from Rondo of Blood. However, while this is his default outfit when facing him in Alucard's story, the new outfit actually needs to be unlocked via cheat code. Otherwise, he will use his classic outfit from Rondo of Blood. But it's a very simple cheat. When beginning a new game, we simply need to highlight Richter and keep pressing up while confirming with the C button. So already there is enough new content to satisfy most fans, but there's actually more. 2 new areas are introduced, or rather reintroduced, for each of the 2 castles, the Underground Garden and the Cursed Prison, and their inverted equivalents, the Hell Garden and the Salt Prison. But why did I say reintroduced? Well, because at least the Underground Garden was planned to be present also in the original PS1 version, but was taken out at the last minute. Proof of this is the fact that a portion of the room leading to the Underground Garden can still be accessed using a glitch in the PS1 version, right at the beginning. Anyway, while most of the fans find these areas pretty weak from a level design point of view, and I can somewhat agree, I still love their overall atmosphere. On top of that, this is also where we can find most of the new cast of enemies, which perfectly fit the level they're in. Here is also where we can listen to the new remix tracks that I mentioned earlier when I spoke of the sound test. These are very good renditions of classic Castlevania themes, which are definitely worth checking out, even if you don't plan to try this version. Well, these are the most important part of the extra content. There are still few more things, like some extra familiars and items, including one that allows Alucard to run just like Richter, so that finally speedrunners can stop wiping the floor. And that about covers the Saturn version. Overall, this doesn't provide quite the same smooth experience as the PS1 does. The performance issues that afflict the game makes it the inferior version to play. However, content-wise, it's quite the opposite. There is so much more content here compared to the original that fans of Symphony of the Night that have explored the castle in and out might want to check this out. Most of this extra content was never added to subsequent re-releases of the game, effectively locking it for what seems it will be like forever on the Sega Saturn. So yes, this version here is for the hardcore fans. If you've never played Symphony of the Night before, this one is not the one you should go for. Unless, big unless here, you choose to play the extended V1.5, the fan hack that fixes most of the issues here, including some performance hiccups, some visual effects like better transparencies, and even some gameplay issues, like being finally able to summon them up with the press of a button. Ah, finally. This is truly awesome. Once again the fans came to save the day, just like with Mega Man X6 with the Twix mod. Thanks Mother for making bad games great again. If you're into retro gaming and also played Symphony of the Night before, you should try and aim for the Saturn version, which is the version that you most likely didn't play due to its not easy accessibility. It's also not a cheap buy, but at least it's not that rare. Its bunch of extras makes it perfect for those who already got the full Symphony of the Night experience but still want more and feel curious about playing a very unique version, if certainly not the best from a technical perspective. It is such a masterpiece that even the bad Saturn performance can't really manage to ruin. And even that version has something going for it content-wise. And truth be told, the only bad way to play Symphony of the Night is to not play it. Well, that is all for today, folks. Share your thoughts or memories in the comment section down below. Did you ever play it? If so, on which console? Which version you think it's the best? If you're a Castlevania fan, and if you made it this far into the video, I have every reason to believe so, I have also other Castlevania related videos on my channel, so you might also be interested in seeing the video I did covering the elusive beta of Castlevania Resurrection on Dreamcast. And also if you enjoyed this content, maybe leave a like, subscribe and share it around, but no pressure at all. I just want to thank you very much for taking some of your precious time to watch this video to the end. I will be sure to see you in my next one, but until then, stay safe, play safe, world gamers.